Are your ads to grow on Spotify not working the way you thought they would? Are you failing to convert listeners from Meta's ad platform all the way over to Spotify to get more followers and listeners and streams and all the things? Rest assured, you're not alone. It happens to all of us. It has happened to me many times. It happens to virtually every artist I have ever come in contact with in my entire life. Fortunately, there are a few very simple things that generally are to blame for an ad campaign that's not working like you want it to. In fact, there are three pretty straightforward, very basic things we can look at to solve, I would say, a solid 80% of the problems I see across ad accounts. Okay, so the first and most basic problem I see more often than anything else is simply targeting the wrong countries. Many artists think that because we live in this global society now, we need to just target every single country that is available on Spotify. Usually that doesn't really work very well. I mean, look, if you focus on the right countries, you can get an ad campaign that comes to speed out of the gate relatively easily, and you're off to the races without much fuss. But if you target the wrong countries, you can start to burn through your ad spend very quickly without any results to show for it on the ad platform. So selecting which countries to target for specific reasons is a very important thing. Now, I generally like to lean into 13, let's call them core countries for ads to grow on Spotify. I do this with my own ads and I whittle down from there. And we do this with most artists we help with my agency, DuPree X. These 13 countries are kind of the bread and butter list. I will leave a link to an article on my website where you can read more about this and learn about these 13 countries if you want to. Now, if you don't want to target these 13 countries and you want to expand outside of that, you can add additional countries. Now, some countries don't play well with others in, the same campaign or ad sets. Like if you target Brazil alongside the United States, Brazil is going to get all the ad spend. The United States is going to get nothing because the cost per impression in Brazil and the cost per result is much lower than the United States. So you want to position countries alongside one another so that they play well together. What you want to do is cross-reference your results by country on Meta's ad platform against your results by country on Spotify. So what does that mean? Basically, it's this. You want to break out the results by country on the ad platform, look at where you're getting results, where are people clicking through, which ones have the most clicks or results or views content or whatever metric you're using, and then go to Spotify and confirm that you're seeing listeners from those exact same countries inside of your artist profile. So for example, let's say you've included the US and Brazil, and you're getting a ton of click-throughs from Brazil and none from the US, and then you go to Spotify and you're not getting any listeners from Brazil on the platform, you know that what you're doing on Meta's ad platform is kind of wasted ad spend. So if you pull Brazil and then let it run for a little bit longer, you see that you're only getting results from the United States. You go back to Spotify for Artists, and then you see that you're actually getting listeners in the United States. Then you know that the connection has been made. People are making it from your ads over to Spotify, and now what you're doing is working. If you expand this out on a larger scale and you're including a bunch of different countries, what you want to do is just kind of find the outlier events. So if you have one or two countries that are eating up the majority of your budget and they're not showing up on Spotify for Artists, pull them from your targeting, let things run a little bit again, and then check back to see if you've cleaned things up. Once you've cleaned things up, then you know that you have a system that is working. Now, once an artist has cleaned up their country targeting, the second problem I see more often than not is an issue with age targeting. When we first start an ad campaign, generally we like to go from 18 to 65 plus, just leave it wide open and see what happens. Honestly, that's what I do most of the time, especially if it's a new artist that I am not let's say completely confident about where the results are going to come from. Now, a lot of people, they'll turn on an ad campaign, they'll leave it open 18 to 65, and then they'll just step back and go do something else and let it run for a while. You should let it run for, 3, 5, 7 days, but they'll just forget about it. And then they come back and all their results are 65 plus, and they're not getting any listeners from 65 plus on Spotify for Artists. And what's more is that's not really what you're going for anyway. It doesn't make sense to just leave it open all the time. It does make sense to test it because you never know what you're going to end up with. Now, I would argue, of course, most of us are probably not looking for listeners over the age of 65 or even probably 55 for the most part. And music discovery tends to lean more towards the younger age demographics anyway. People are hungrier to discover new music, let's say per capita, when they're younger than when they're older. When we get a little bit older, we get kind of set in our ways and like listening to what we like to listen to. I'm already sort of getting there. And so we're not discovering as much new music quite as frequently as people who are younger. So yes, your results are probably going to skew on the younger side in terms of discovery, but you never want to cut anything out, any options out, especially when you're not really sure how things are going to play out. If you have this problem, the way to solve it is the same way we did it with the country targeting. You want to break out your results on Meta's ad platform, look at where you're getting the most traction from, go over to Spotify for Artists, and then compare that with the age demographic breakdown on Spotify for Artists. So for example, if you're getting a lot of click-throughs on Meta from the 65 and older crowd, and you're not getting any results to speak of on Spotify for Artists, or a very small number of results, then you want to pull that out. Now, realistically, you're probably going to end up pulling it down to something like 18 to 44, 18 to 54 for the most part. Maybe you're going 25 to 54 depending on the genre. Maybe you're going to 35 to 59, something like that. Sticking with 65 plus is very rare, but it does happen. So you just want to be mindful of where your results are coming from, reference them together, A/B, figure out where you're getting results, where there are false positives, remove that from your targeting, and it should clean things up. You may have to do this a couple of times, but eventually you'll figure out who your target demographic is and you can narrow in and get something that works. Okay, and so once I've worked with an artist or inside of an ad account to clean up the country targeting and clean up the age targeting, the thing that I see most frequently derail an ad campaign from there is not the detailed targeting. In fact, that's actually gotten really good if you're just targeting Spotify only or just open targeting. Generally, the detailed targeting options tend to work as long as the ad is good. So the thing that really trips up an ad campaign, the third one, is bad ad creative. Now this can be the song, but usually it's the visual component. Usually if the visual component is no good, it doesn't matter how good the song is because nobody's gonna stop scrolling to actually give the song a chance. The point of your ad, especially the visual component, is to get someone to stop scrolling and gain their attention. It's often been said that we have, shortening attention spans in today's modern age with the phones and all the stuff. What we really have is not shortened attention spans. That is true, but what it is short consideration spans. We will give something a chance for a very brief moment, and if it doesn't grab our attention or doesn't deliver some semblance of perceived value instantaneously, we will move on with our day and keep scrolling and forget all about it. So you have to express that perceived value very quickly. Now, for us as musicians, that perceived value is I have good music that you will enjoy consuming. So you have to convey that, but it also has to be something that is beyond just the sound of it. I am building a brand, a project, an art project, something creative that you will enjoy. Come step into my world. That's really what you're trying to articulate with the first few frames of your ad. I would say the first 1 to 3 seconds are where this happens. So this is why you want to split test multiple different creative options. You want to try different visual options. You can try your cover art. You can try video options. You can try animated things. Switch it up. Try different looks and feels, something that's like got some texture and grain and grittiness to it if that suits your vibe as an artist, or try something that's more clean and neat and polished. Experiment with different colors. You can try blues and reds and greens and blacks and whites and grays and whatever. Think outside the box. Use what goes thematically with the brand that you are building and try to generate visual content that is engaging and grabs attention. This is also why it's important to split test different sections of the song, because not only does the first 1 to 3 seconds of visual content earn somebody's attention, you also want to earn their attention with the first 1 to 3 seconds of your song. So pick a moment that instantaneously grabs attention and then take them on that journey where you can sort of attention hack them in a way, and you can build up to a transitional moment in your song. So you give them 4 to 8 bars of one section and then transition to the next section and then cut it off in the middle of it so that that dopamine payoff is kind of not there. They're going to have a higher likelihood of clicking through just so they can get to the end of that section on Spotify and have that payoff. It's a psychological thing that you can take advantage of. Okay, so those are 3 very simple, very common mistakes I see that are holding up ad campaigns all the time. I think that if you can dial in these 3 things, 80% of the time, maybe even 90% of the time, you're going to clean up your results, and then you will end up with an ad campaign that is working and actually generating results for you on Spotify. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy this and you want to go deeper with topics just like this every single week, then I hope you'll subscribe to my newsletter, The One Thing. Every Tuesday, I send out one thing that I am either thinking about or testing to help you succeed as an independent artist. So if you do want to subscribe to that, I'll leave a link to do so in the description of this video. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.